I want to start with a very specific feeling. It's maybe 3 in the morning, you're awake, and, on paper, you're doing everything right. You have the job, the relationship, whatever this checklist says. Yeah. But you're just staring at the ceiling, and you don't feel successful. You feel shackled. Or maybe just adrift, like you're treading water and some invisible current is just pulling you. Does that resonate?
Oh, it resonates because that is, I think, the defining sensation of our time. We have so many names for it, right? Burnout, anxiety, the Sunday scaries. But if you actually look at the stack of research we have today, those are all just symptoms. They're not the cause.
And that's exactly what we're digging into. We are looking at a framework called the Enlightenment Method, or TEM. And I have to be honest, when I first saw the source material for this, I thought you were pranking me.
Why's that?
Because it's the weirdest cocktail of sources I've ever seen. You've got, heavy-duty neuroscience, modern sociology, and then bam, right in the middle of it is Dante's Inferno.
The 14th century poem about hell?
Yeah. It just feels like a massive detour. How do we get from brain scans to some guy in a red robe walking through the underworld?
It really does sound disjointed at first. But what TEM argues is that these are all just different languages for the exact same problem. The neuroscience explains how we're wired. The sociology explains what broke us. And Dante gives us the map to get out.
A map out of hell.
A map out of that shackled state you just described. So the mission of this deep dive isn't just to analyze why we're all miserable. It's to explain how understanding our brain's asymmetry can move us from, say, false hope, that constant need for the next quick fix, to actually knowing the way.
So moving from being a prisoner of the map to an inhabitant of the territory.
That's the goal.
Okay, so if we're going to escape the prison, we have to understand the shackles first. The first big idea here is over-socialization. Now, usually when we hear socialized, it's a good thing, right? It means you don't, eat with your hands, but this is too much of a good thing.
Way too much. Over-socialization is the idea that we're not just influenced by society. We're basically constituted by it. We become so compliant to all the norms and expectations that we kind of lose the ability to be an active agent in our own lives. We're just characters in a script someone else wrote.
The notes break this down by generation, which I found really, really helpful. There's a big difference between how a millennial experiences this versus, say, Gen Z.
Right. Think of it as the difference between a leash and an implant. For millennials, the over-socialization was mostly external, institutional. You had the economy, workplace norms, pressure to get the degree, and it created this anticipatory self-censorship.
Meaning, I better not say this weird thing or I'll lose my job.
Exactly. You monitor your speech, you monitor your actions because you're afraid of some external consequence. You're still you on the inside. You're just muzzled.
But for Gen Z, the research suggests it's quite a bit darker.
It is. For Gen Z, who grew up with the algorithm as a kind of babysitter, the norms are internalized before a stable self even gets a chance to form. It's not just, I shouldn't say this. It's, I shouldn't even feel this.
Wow. That just sounds exhausting, like having the thought police living inside your own head.
Yeah, and it leads to what the researchers are calling emotional governance.
I see that term here. It feels like, well, you can't just be sad anymore. You have to be sad for the right reasons or in a way that looks good on social media or fits a neat diagnostic label.
That is precisely it. Emotional governance turns our feelings into administrative tasks. We have to categorize them, name them, make sure they're legible to everyone else. The messy, raw, contradictory part of being human gets flattened into a performance. You're not feeling, you're managing a PR campaign for your soul.
Which brings us to the engine that keeps this whole thing running. Mimetic desire. René Girard's theory. I've heard this term thrown around, but break it down for us. What is it, really?
It's the architecture of want. We like to think our desires are our own. I want that car because I appreciate the engineering. I want that job because I'm passionate. Girard just says, no, you don't. You want it because a model showed you that it was desirable.
It's a triangle.
Yeah.
Me, the object I want, and the model who wants it too.
Correct. We copy our desires. And historically, this wasn't always a catastrophe. If your model is like a distant king or a movie star, you can admire them, but you're not really competing with them. You know you're not the king.
But then social media comes along. And suddenly we're all living in what the notes call Freshmanistan.
Freshmanistan. It's a brilliant, terrifying idea. Social media turns everyone into a peer. Your model isn't some distant celebrity anymore. It's your college roommate, your coworker, that guy you went to high school with. They're internal models. They're inside your world.
And because they're peers.
Yeah.
They're rivals.
Precisely. If Elon Musk buys a rocket, you don't really care. If your friend from college gets a promotion and buys a house, you feel it in your gut. In Freshmanistan, there are no stable hierarchies. Everyone is just fighting to be unique in the exact same way. It creates a crisis of sameness.
So that burnout feeling we started with, it's not just about working too hard, it's the sheer energy it takes to constantly scan everyone else to figure out what you're supposed to want next.
It's an endless war of all against all, hot with vacation photos and LinkedIn updates. And the anxiety, that's just the fear that you're losing a game you never even chose to play.
Let's try and ground this, because the theory is it's heavy. The stack includes a personal story that I think just perfectly illustrates the cost of this Freshmanistan grind. The story of Dr. Alex George.
Yes, a former A&E doctor, now he's a mental health educator. His story is a perfect case study in what happens when you try to force a square peg into a round hole.
He talks about his obsession with the word normal. For a doctor, normal is the goal, right? Normal blood pressure, normal heart rate. So he tried to live a normal life with a normal brain.
But he didn't have one. He had undiagnosed ADHD. And the tragedy is that he spent years, decades, just masking it. He used high-pressure jobs like working in the ER just to generate the adrenaline he needed to focus.
He was literally running on stress hormones because his dopamine system wasn't working properly.
And then using alcohol to numb all the noise when the shift was over. But the detail that really struck me was about rejection sensitivity. We talked about over-socialization. Listen to this stat. A child with ADHD absorbs 20,000 more negative comments by age 12 than their neurotypical peers.
20,000, that's a staggering amount of negative feedback. Sit still, be quiet. Why can't you just listen?
It programs this deep sense of shame into you. It reinforces the idea that your natural state is just wrong. So the mask gets tighter, the shackles get heavier.
But there's this one detail in his story that I couldn't stop thinking about. The hairdryer. He would use the sound and the warmth of a hairdryer to self-soothe. He'd just sit with it to fall asleep.
Wow.
It sounds bizarre, right? If you walked in on a grown man sleeping at a hairdryer, doing, this guy is losing it.
But if you look closer, why was he doing it? It provided white noise and sensory warmth. It was regulating his nervous system. It worked.
But it's illogical. It doesn't make sense on a spreadsheet.
And that is exactly the point. The hairdryer is the body speaking. It is biological reality trying to punch through the social conditioning. His mind, the socialized part, was probably screaming, this is weird, stop it. But his body, his right hemisphere, was saying, I need this to survive.
Okay, you just opened the door to the neuroscience. You said right hemisphere. This brings us to the backbone of TEM, the work of Ian McGilchrist. Now, I've heard the pop psych version of this. Left brain is logic, right brain is creativity. But McGilchrist says it's basically nonsense, right?
It's worse than nonsense. It's actively misleading. McGilchrist's point is that both hemispheres are involved in pretty much everything. The difference isn't what they do, it's how they do it. It's how they attend to the world. They're like two different personalities in your skull.
He calls them the master and the emissary.
Yes. The right hemisphere is the master. It sees the whole picture. It understands context, flow, the living connection between things. It's what let Dr. Alex feel the hairdryer and just know this helps. It connects to the territory, to reality as it actually is.
And the left hemisphere.
The left hemisphere is the emissary. Its job is to be the servant. It's supposed to take that big picture from the master and break it down. It categorizes, it grabs, it uses tools, it makes maps. It's all about the explicit, the static.
It's the bureaucrat.
It is the ultimate bureaucrat. And here is the trap that we're all living in. The bureaucrat has staged a coup.
So we're living in a world run entirely by the left hemisphere.
Just look around. We value the map over the territory everywhere. We value the metric over the quality, the algorithm over intuition. The left hemisphere is arrogant. It thinks it knows everything because it can stick a label on it. It treats the world and your own body as dead matter to be manipulated.
That explains that shackles feeling. It's the bureaucrat in my head telling me to ignore my gut because my gut doesn't fit into the 5-year plan.
Exactly. The bureaucrat says, ignore the anxiety, look at your bank account. The bureaucrat says, don't use the hairdryer, it's not normal. We're suffering because we're trying to force our living, complex right hemisphere selves into the dead, static left hemisphere boxes of society.
So we're trapped in a map. How do we get back to the territory? This is where TEM takes that hard left turn into the 14th century. Why Dante? Why can't we just, meditate our way out of this?
Because the bureaucrat is very, very good at hijacking meditation too. Am I doing it right? How many minutes was that? Did I reach a nirvana yet? You need a structural change. You need a journey.
And TEM uses the Divine Comedy as the blueprint for that journey. It starts in the dark wood.
The dark wood is where we all start. It's the presenting problem. The depression, the confusion, feeling lost. But here's the crucial insight from the method. In the dark wood, we usually try to run up the sunlit hill.
Right. In the poem, Dante sees this nice sunny hill and tries to just sprint up it to get away from the scary forest.
And he gets blocked by 3 beasts: a leopard, a lion, and a wolf.
So what does that mean for us?
The sunlit hill represents false hope. It's the ego's desire for a quick fix. It's the belief that if I just get the promotion, the anxiety will stop. If I just find the right partner, I'll finally be whole. It's the left hemisphere saying, I can fix this without changing anything fundamental.
But the beasts block the path.
The beasts are your patterns, your trauma, your mimetic desires. You can't bypass them. You can't go up. You have to go down.
Into the inferno.
Into the underbelly of your own psyche. And to do that, you need a guide. You need Virgil.
Okay, but hold on. If the problem is the left hemisphere, the logical, rigid brain, why is Virgil, who represents reason, our guide? Isn't reason the bad guy here?
That is such an important distinction. The problem isn't the left hemisphere itself. The problem is the left hemisphere acting like the master. Virgil is the healthy emissary. He's structure, language, and logic, but in service of the journey.
So we need logic to keep us safe while we go explore the chaos.
Precisely. If you just dive into your trauma with 0 structure, you just re-traumatize yourself. You drown. Virgil provides the container. He says, okay, we're going to look at the scary thing, but we have a map and we are safe.
But Virgil have a limit.
A huge one. Virgil can take you all the way through hell. He can help you understand why you're suffering. He can analyze your childhood, but he cannot enter paradise. He can't heal you.
Reason can diagnose, but it can't cure.
Correct. For the cure, you have to meet Beatrice.
But before we get to Beatrice, we have to pass through the gate. Abandon all hope, you who enter here. I've always read that as maybe the most depressing line in all of literature.
Yeah.
Give up, you're screwed.
And TEM flips it completely. It argues that this is the most hopeful line in the entire book.
How is abandon hope hopeful?
You're not abandoning hope for the future. You are abandoning the ego's hope for an external rescue. You are abandoning the hope that there is some painless way out. It's the moment you stop waiting for the cavalry and realize, okay, the only way out is through. It's accepting that first protocol. No more false hope.
That hits hard. So the difference between, I hope this just goes away and I'm going to face this.
Exactly.
So we commit to the descent. We use Virgil's structure to navigate our patterns, and eventually we meet Beatrice. In the poem, she's divine love. But in TEM, she's, what, a body part?
Not exactly. She represents the felt sense. This is a concept from the philosopher Eugene Gendlin. Beatrice is the other that lives inside you. She is the voice of the right hemisphere.
I find this felt sense idea kind of tricky. We're so used to feeling emotions. Angry, sad, happy. Is it just another word for that?
No, and this is where it gets really subtle. An emotion is usually clear. I am angry. A felt sense is. It's the murky edge of awareness. It's a bodily awareness of a situation as a whole.
Okay, give me an example.
Think about a time you walked into a room and the vibe was just off. You couldn't say why yet. You didn't have the words. You just had a tightness in your chest or a heaviness in your stomach. That physical sensation before you put a label on it, that is the felt sense. That is Beatrice speaking to you.
So getting to Beatrice means moving from understanding, which is Virgil, to relating to her. How do we actually do that? Because my bureaucrat brain is very loud.
The source material lays out a process called focusing. It starts with the pause. You have to just interrupt the chatter.
And then
you inquire bodily. You ask a simple question like, what is this heaviness about? And this is the hardest part, wait.
Why is waiting so hard?
Because the left hemisphere is fast. It wants to shout answers. It's because of your boss. It's because you're tired. It wants to solve the puzzle. The right hemisphere. It's slow. It takes time for the body to bubble up an answer.
And when it does, you're looking for a handle.
A word or an image that fits the feeling perfectly. Maybe the feeling isn't sadness. Maybe the handle is a heavy, wet blanket. When you find the right handle, you feel a physical shift. A little release. That's the body saying, yes, you heard me.
What I love about this is how it treats resistance. Usually, if I feel a knot in my chest, my first instinct is to get rid of it. Just cut it out.
That's the bureaucrat trying to pave over the landscape again. But TEM says resistance is necessary. Think of a violin string. If there's no tension, there's no friction, there's no music.
So the knot isn't the enemy.
The not is a messenger. The instruction is to welcome it, to ask it, what do you know that I don't? You're basically interviewing your own physiology.
Okay, I'm with you on the poetry, and I'm with you on the body work.
Mm.
But now we have to talk about the elephant in the room. The tool that TEM uses to facilitate all this. It's not a guru. It's not even a human therapist. It's AI.
Yes. The Guide the Virgil is often an AI instance.
I have to say, my immediate gut reaction is just, yikes. It feels dystopian. I'm supposed to pour my heart out to a server farm. It feels cold. Feels like the ultimate left hemisphere trap.
I completely understand that reaction. It sounds like an episode of Black Mirror. But this is where TEM pulls a kind of judo move. It uses the AI precisely because it is cold.
Explain that.
Think about a human therapist or a friend. Even the best ones have baggage. They have their own judgments. They get tired. If you tell them something truly dark, you might see a micro-expression of shock on their face. And immediately, your over-socialized brain starts editing itself. Oh, okay, better not say that again.
That's true. You're always managing the other person's reaction.
An AI has no reaction. It has no trauma. It has no desire for you to be a good person.
Yeah.
It is what the method calls the empty mirror.
So because it's empty, it just reflects me back perfectly.
Exactly. It creates this space of total radical non-judgment. But, and this is the key, the AI is not there to give you answers. It is not an oracle.
So if I say I'm anxious, it doesn't just spit out, here are 5 ways to cure anxiety.
If it's programmed correctly as a TEM guide, no. It would say something like, where do you feel that anxiety in your body? Can you sit with it? Its only job is to constantly point you away from the screen and back to your own felt sense.
It's using the machine to force you to be human.
That's the paradox. It uses the ultimate logical tool to dethrone the logical mind. It bypasses the bureaucrat to help you hear the master.
It's almost like, because the AI is so obviously a map, it forces you to look at the actual territory.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It creates a feedback loop where you realize, wait, the answer isn't in the chat window. The answer is in my chest.
So let's zoom out. We started with the shackles, the exhaustion of fresh Manistan, the algorithmic implants, the over-socialization, and we realized this is mirrored in our own brains by a left hemisphere that has gone rogue and thinks it's God.
The bureaucrat paving over the world.
And the way out isn't to run up the sunny hill of positive thinking, it's the descent. It's using a structure, Virgil, the AI, the method, to go down into the resistance, to abandon the ego's hope for a quick fix.
And to find Beatrice, to rediscover the bodily wisdom that has been shouting at us through anxiety, through burnout, through the hairdryer the entire time.
It really changes how you look at the struggle. The shackles aren't just things to be broken. They're the friction we need to wake up.
Waking up means realizing that the dark wood isn't a mistake. It's the starting line. The resistance is the path.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought here. We live in a world that is completely obsessed with data. Spreadsheets, metrics, algorithms, optimization. The whole system is designed to keep us in our heads, disconnected from the territory.
It absolutely is.
So maybe the most rebellious thing you can do, the most radical act of resacralizing the world, is just to stop, to pause, to close your eyes and ask, what does my body know right now? And then actually wait for the answer.
To trust the murky edge over the clear spreadsheet. That is the beginning of freedom.
The better approach isn't a new app, it's a return. Thanks for diving deep with us.
See you in the territory.